Welcome to the newest episode of Tales from Tatooine podcast. I'm Jacob.
I'm Fish.
And it's happened. The release of The Last Jedi has occurred. A week has gone by, and we are here to talk about it. If you haven't seen The Last Jedi...
What are you waiting for?
Yeah, what are you waiting for? Come on. But this episode is going to be 100% spoilers.
Yes.
There won't be a bunch of warnings like this. It's just all spoilers. So if you haven't seen it or you want to go in completely fresh, don't watch this podcast. Just wait till you finish the episode, then come back to this, and then disagree with the things we say in the comments below. And that's the best way to go about it. Otherwise, you've been warned. We're gonna go over plot points and twists. I don't know how else to say it. Spoilers abound in this particular episode. And it's important.
All the spoilers.
It's all the spoilers. You can't really say anything about this movie and it not be a potential spoiler. There's just twist after twist after twist.
Blew my mind. Oh my God. So what happened?
This is going to be part one of we don't know how many parts. There's so much to discuss. There's really no format with the way these go. It's just going to be kind of our thoughts as they come.
We're just going to chat.
Yeah, just have a little chat. If you guys want to join the conversation, comment below. Follow us on Twitter at Tatooine Podcast. Let us know what you think. But let's get into the news. There is no news. I don't even know, honestly, where to begin with The Last Jedi. I guess the first point should be made. Every theory I've ever read or watched or heard was wrong.
Thought of.
Or even imagined.
Wrong. So wrong. In every way possible. Like, we couldn't have been more far off. And I thought we were pretty close on some of them.
It was interesting because I guess it's not fully correct to say that we were wrong because there's so much unanswered questions.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I guess let's break down the most important part of Last Jedi. Rey is not a fucking Skywalker.
Hallelujah. Now the rest of y'all can shut up about it. Oh, I'm so glad that's over.
2 years I've been waiting to say those words definitively, that she is not a Skywalker. And I know I can already read it in the comments. I can already see it. Oh, when Kylo and her were talking and said her parents were nobodies, that's just like some kind of, red herring to get us away from the thing so it can be another surprise. No. In fact, Rian Johnson, in an interview on Saturday, the Saturday after the release, said specifically that this, and when he wrote it, is the truth. Now, of course, it can change. J.J. Abrams comes in. He decides that, you know what? She is going to be a Skywalker. And then he blows up the whole Star Wars universe because it's such a retarded thing to do. Right? I can't do 2 more years of Rey's a Skywalker. But no, of course it's always a possibility. But
Sure.
It's not likely. And to be completely honest, the idea that her parents are from nothing was amazing.
It's good. It opens the doorway for things to change in the right direction with Star Wars.
That kid at the end.
Exactly. The broom. Like, his parents are probably a nobody and he's force sensitive. I like this direction.
Yeah. It's scary because it pretty much is, hey, everything you know about Star Wars doesn't matter. all that shit doesn't matter. All those things you think doesn't matter. Which is kind of frustrating, but at the same time, I think if we really want the Star Wars story to go somewhere, it needs to really kind of expand beyond this small group of people.
Right, yeah.
Which is, I think will play down the line even in things like the anthology films. Mm-hmm. It's very likely, there's talk about this Obi-Wan or Boba Fett movie. I don't think we're going to see that only because it really does feel like they're trying to go away from this story, allow us to explore the vastness of the galaxy, and give us stories involving people who fucking aren't Skywalkers.
Yes.
And
pushes us very far away from the whole midichlorian thing, too.
In a way. I mean, it could be argued that the midichlorians are they don't pass on genetically, you know. But the idea that they're going to be like, oh, midichlorians anytime in the future is not very likely. I did read an interesting article that was like a defense of the midichlorians.
Who would write that?
I think it was for like BuzzFeed, you know, like one of those kind of things, you know, nothing serious, or Variety. I don't know where it was, but essentially the idea was that the midichlorians, that aspect of the story allows us to move away from the Skywalker storyline because it connects all things in the galaxy, so you don't have to necessarily rely on bloodlines. That's a very simplification of it, but I wasn't convinced. I don't like the midichlorians, you know, but I don't think many people like the midichlorians, and it could be argued that no one likes midichlorians because it's the midichlorians and everyone hates the midichlorians, so everyone continues to hate the midichlorians just because they're like, oh, the midichlorians.
I mean, that's fair. Whatever.
But regardless, it is frustrating that they're taking it in this direction that's so radically different. But knowing that I want something more from Star Wars and that this allows them to do that helps me accept the radical differences between this movie and all the other movies.
Absolutely. Yep.
And the show of different force powers in this movie.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Like when Luke did all the
So you remember when we watched the Battlefront trailer, and they showed the Luke Skywalker storyline, and it showed him using that force blast outwards and stuff. That's pretty much what that was.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure if they were going to put that. I know that the game is canon, but you know, you never really know what they're going to put into a movie. But to see him walk into that hut and to see Rey and Kylo holding hands or whatever the fuck, and it blows everything out. Oh, I screamed a little bit. I was that guy in the theater because that was so amazing. And to be able to see Luke Skywalker for the first time in forever, I mean, for the first time in theaters, where he does something in my lifetime.
Yeah, I say in our lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not that young. I'm 30, but I'm like that.
Are you 30 now? You are 30
I am 30. I'm an old man.
Precious.
I know. You know, I'm from the generation that our parents gave us the originals, and we got to see the prequels in theaters, and now we get to go into this new saga with our kids. I mean, not my kids young, but to be able to see him, really see him.
I feel privileged.
It was an excellent, it was a feeling of fulfillment. But to see the power that he has. So for those who haven't seen it, and you're still listening to this, you're an idiot. But at the end, he takes on Kylo Ren.
Oh, his force projection.
On Crate with the force projection. So he projects himself across the span of
the entire galaxy. Like we pulled up the map. We don't know the distance. It's probably insane.
It's an insane amount of distance. And he force projects himself as his younger version, as his version
so convincingly too. Not like,
I mean, he kisses Leia on the forehead.
Yeah.
So it's not.
He's not all fuzzy like a hologram or some kind of weird projection. It was so good.
That last battle was so good.
It was intense.
It was awesome. He's just like freaking Matrix underneath the lightsaber. So dope. But he force projects himself onto this planet from across this expanse of space that's insane. And he fights Kylo. And Kylo cuts him in half, but he doesn't get cut in half. I guess it should be stated first that he uses all the AT walkers and the M6 walkers and stuff, and they're just blasting this spot. There's like 10 of them blasting this one spot. And
blasted a hole in the ground practically.
And he just walks out of it. Which is one of those moments that'll live for you forever, because that shit was just so fucking... That was just one of those cool moments.
I knew something had to be up when he walked out of there, like, with nothing. And, like, we didn't see blasters ricochet off some kind of force field or anything weird. It was just him, and something wasn't right. But I didn't.
What got it for me
that.
was I wasn't convinced. I didn't start thinking that it was a force projection at that point. For me, it was when he started his lightsaber, and it was Anakin's lightsaber. Because, and I don't know 100% sure if it was Anakin Skywalker or Anakin's lightsaber. It sure did look like it. But it had been destroyed on the Supremacy before this, between Rey and Kylo.
Yeah.
Fighting the guards was so dope too. There's a lot of things that are like, what the fuck? And then there's stuff that was just so fucking cool. Like, just in general, like, so Rey and Kylo fighting together against the guard was awesome after fucking cutting Snoke in half, which we'll get into, which was another fucking crazy, just, what? What the fuck just happened?
I said that out loud in the theater. What?
I would have to say to those, if you're watching this and you were in the theater with us, we were sitting in the corner, you guys suck.
Oh my god.
It was the most quiet-ass theater.
The entire theater was dead.
Like, no one reacted to anything. Leia gets pulled out into fucking space. Not a goddamn sigh or gasp.
Nothing.
I looked around
like... It took the breath out of me. I couldn't breathe. I was suffocating in the theater. What's happening to Leia? And there's not a peep in the crowd.
No one fucking... No one for that fucking guy who's talking, oh, I've seen Star Wars a million times.
Oh, that fucking guy. Jesus.
Anyway, we're getting way off track. What got it for me was when he opened that lightsaber. I was like, wait a minute. Because I guess in my head, and I could be wrong, because I've only seen the movie twice now. You've seen it twice. I'm not 100% sure. But when I saw that, I was like, that shit's broke. That ain't Luke. And he was like 40 years younger, but...
Yeah, and I even looked at him. I'm like, but did he like... Do they have hair dye in Star Wars? And he's like, oh, Force.
The Force uses... You can change your hair with the Force. But no, that's what did it for me. And then when he tried to cut him in half and he was like, what the fuck? And then he like pokes his lightsaber through him. And then... So after all this, and... they get away, and Rey, who didn't turn dark side, fuck you, internet, like moves all the boulders and stuff.
Oh yeah, her use of power in this movie is
sick.
It's insane.
It's awesome.
She's so stupid strong. Powerful.
But they get away. Which is now the rebellion again. They get away. Kylo's there, all pissed off, and Kylo's story arc and development in this movie is phenomenal. But
I even like Hux in this movie.
Yeah, Hux, and it's definitely setting it up for like this huge conflict between Kylo,
absolutely,
who's going to be so focused on getting Rey and destroying like the last of the Jedi or whatever, since he was so obsessed with.
But he also said that part of everything needs to die.
Yeah,
and he even yelled at Rey for still trying to hang on.
Yeah,
like, you need to move on.
I don't think he means like he needs to move on from like Force usage. He just needs to move on from like light side stuff. Because it was theorized that he harbors that light side still pretty deeply in him, and we're shown that he in fact does not. And it's a big triumph of him to overcome that when he killed Han Solo. But regardless, he's gonna be so obsessed with getting revenge against Rey, and you're gonna probably see like this mutiny.
Yeah,
because Kylo's now the supreme leader. I should also. But he's gonna be so obsessed with Rey that Hux will probably lead like some kind of coup against him, which will be an interesting dynamic to see, like the Empire fall from within instead of
that could definitely
or First
happen.
Order, but essentially the Empire.
Yeah.
To be able to see that transition is gonna be pretty awesome. So off track. There's just so much to talk about. It sets up that, but then after the battle between Kylo and Luke, we see that Luke is force projecting himself from Ahch-To on this. There's like a temple that has the meditation rock you see from the trailers, where Rey cracks the ground and shit. He's on there, and then he's like floating, which is dope. But then he, super weak, gets back up on the stone, looks out, he sees twin suns on this planet too. Obviously reminds him of his home. And fucking Yoda's it.
Yeah. Out like Yoda.
Out like Yoda, just to close.
Yep, goodbye. It was good though.
I was so
satisfied.
Happy because of they kind of set that up. So Yoda appears, original puppet Yoda, which looked phenomenal.
So good.
He shows up. He's talking to Luke, gives him a bunch of Yoda advice, bunch of Yoda stuff. Gives him a bunch of Yoda-isms. Gives him a bunch of Yoda stuff. Burns the fucking force tree.
Yeah. With
he pulls lightning.
No hesitation. It was like, fuck that tree.
Yeah. Rey saves the books, by the way. If you didn't catch that at the end.
Yeah.
Which will play, I think, into the next movie.
Yeah.
Which we'll probably get into in part 2 or 3, 5. I don't fucking know.
6.
You see that he pretty much passes the torch on to Rey.
Yeah.
But it also means that we're totally going to see a Luke ghost.
Luke
Skywalker's not out of the films yet.
No, he has to come back.
He'll come back.
He's not done.
No. He's definitely going to be the Yoda to Rey. For sure. Which is phenomenal. And while I want to see Luke more because Luke fucking Skywalker, I knew he had to die. They always have to die. I mean, they're not going to die. They're not going to change that part of the Star Wars storytelling. Luke had to die. Yeah. I was pretty sure that he would die like in a violent attack in front of Rey, which is one of my predictions. But I'm glad that I was wrong about that.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking like a violent death or anything, but I wasn't expecting him to Yoda it by any means.
No. I didn't expect him to die in this film.
Get hurt or something and just eventually succumb to his wounds or something, but not like a violent or peaceful.
Yeah, I was super happy with the way that happened. A lot of people weren't.
So many people were so upset about this movie overall.
I think we need to kind of veer off of our thoughts and we need to kind of discuss the fandom in general. So let's do that. Let's discuss the fandom. So it seems like there's a major rift between not only the critics and the fans, but the fans themselves. There's really no middle ground. Either you absolutely loved it or you fucking despised it. As of right now, we're filming this on a Wednesday. The critical score is 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score is sitting at 55. That is a major fucking difference.
Yeah, that's...
And I just don't understand. I think I read something that kind of summed up the way people feel. So there's a big problem with The Force Awakens because it was pretty much A New Hope. Which we discussed in previous podcasts, was important to bring us back from the prequels, to get people back into the mindset of Star Wars, to introduce a new generation of fans, et cetera, et cetera. It was used as a stepping point to get us into this new saga. And what better way to do that than remaking the original? This one went the opposite. It's so unlike Star Wars, that like it was just risk after risk after risk, and that too was too much. So they don't want them to remake Star Wars movies, but they don't want them to do new Star Wars movies. So you have this philosophy. It's like, what the fuck? And then because they're pretty much like, hey, all that stuff you think and know, and you spent 2 years coming up with your fucking Snoke theory, and guess what? Snoke is on the screen for 10 minutes and we kill him. Fuck you. I don't think people see the bigger picture, that if you want to have a storyline that focuses on the development of a smaller group of characters, like the development of Kylo Ren, you can't have the master-apprentice dynamic anymore. You have to move past that. And they did in glorious fashion, Kylo Ren fucking cuts Snoke in half. And not for like, oh, I'm Vader coming back light side kind of shit. Because he fucking wanted power. Yeah. Snoke just belittles him in the beginning, which was an excellent piece of dialogue.
You're just a child in a mask.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So good.
You could see that burnt deep.
Yeah. But he pretty much belittles him, tells him that he's not who he expected. And then during the scene where Kylo actually kills him, and again, we're getting so off track with the fandom, but during that scene when Kylo kills him, it's because he's just like, I don't need you anymore. I see past this fucking lie of I need you that you're trying to fill me with. You know, Kylo's already exceptionally strong. Strong enough. Now, I've read a lot of things about people saying that Kylo was only able to do that because Snoke was so busy boasting and haha, I'm Snoke and you're a dick and I can see your mind, both your minds, blah, 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 blah. And that he wasn't being able to focus on that part of his mind. But I don't think that's true. Snoke was exceptionally powerful. And, I mean, look at the fucking Force shit he was doing earlier in the movie. But to think that he was just, like, distracted and couldn't see that major fucking thing that Kylo was thinking just diminishes Kylo. Kylo was strong enough to block that part out. And probably block out... I doubt that he's not thought of this before, you know?
I mean, he could very well have been blocking parts of his mind from Snoke this entire time.
I think he was. That's my point. I think he was getting to a point where he was strong enough where he could block out a plan. Probably not that plan, but like the idea that he wanted to kill Snoke, that Snoke couldn't see. I don't think it was a spur of the moment kind of thing. So showing Kylo's sense of power over his mind, I think is really important. But we're just getting so off track. You see this big rift between critics and fans, and then fans and fans, to a point where you're getting this 55% score, which is horrible for a Star Wars film. Horrible. I mean, that's like prequels. That's Phantom Menace
worse than prequels.
But then you get to these comments. So we got some comments pulled up here, where it really seems that people, I guess, don't quite get it. I don't know.
Are their feelings hurt because the theories that they spent 2 years thinking about and talking about are now worthless?
I think so. I think that's part of it.
So, I mean, I've wasted 2 years of my life Star Wars. Now, fuck you. You get a half star.
Right. Let's read one here. How about this one first? Because it says something that a lot of people talk about, which is so fucking ridiculous. Anyway, it says bad acting, which is wrong. Wrong direction, also wrong. End of franchise for me, as they have killed it off with bad jokes and a PC cast instead of storytelling. Are you serious? It's like, okay, we're gonna hire non-white actors to be in this movie. And all of a sudden, it's this like liberal propaganda film. Have you seen Star Wars? It's pretty much like a commentary on the Vietnam War and the dangers of fascism. Like it is like almost a liberal film from the fucking beginning.
Yeah.
Like the Empire's not good, people. I mean, you can love the dark side all you want, but they're pretty much fucking Nazis.
They are.
Like that's the whole setup, and the prequels are the same fucking way. Like this. I mean, this commentary on your religion, essentially, it could be argued, but there's always been like this left-leaning part of Star Wars. That's not to say it's a leftist propagandist film, and I mean they don't say like, oh, you know, let's Noam Chomsky is our god kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the idea that because there's non-white actors in this film in important roles, and to say that somehow ruins and diminishes the film is fucking stupid.
For one, it's Star Wars. It takes place in another galaxy. There are all kinds of humans and aliens, and so...
You know what it is? There's not enough Wookiee representation. That's what it is.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's not about white people. That's not what they mean. It's like
tall, brown, furry people.
Yeah. But no, so that's a ridiculous fucking notion. You go fuck yourself. Continuing with this review, ask Mark Hamill what he thinks they have done to his character, as it was a shame to watch him being forced to play it in a way he doesn't see fit. Luke's evolution to the way he's become. Never again. One, it is true that Luke didn't like the direction that they originally...
beginning.
Right. So there was an interview with Mark Hamill, who said, yes, that he disagreed with the direction that Luke was going in. And so he confronted Rian Johnson about it. Mm-hmm. And Rian said, I understand, but let's talk about this. Let me try to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. And they came to an agreement. And the original story arc was different than the story arc from the movie. They came to not, you can't even call it a compromise. They came to an understanding about the development of this character to a point where he said that he loved the way his character went. So,
and thank you for shedding light on this and showing me the way. Like in the end, he was good with it. He was okay with it. He understood.
Yeah, there was no like, oh, you're gonna do this. You're
gonna ruin me.
No, he believed in his character. He played it well. The bad acting part. Where's bad acting?
Where does that come from?
You know, like half this cast is British and they're like doing perfect. Like
their American accent is better than my American accent.
No, they didn't sacrifice storytelling to the bad jokes. There was awesome jokes in there. When Luke, after 2 years, he finally holds that lightsaber. A moment we've been waiting for so long. And he just chucks it over his shoulder.
I fucking love that. It's one of my favorite parts in the whole movie.
So good.
Unexpected and totally, I get it.
How can you call it? See, you can't say, oh, it was bad storytelling, when they took a moment that literally everyone was anticipating for 2 years. Like this pivotal moment that in the trailers, they make it seem important. Everyone knows it's going to be important. And to make it be able, I mean, it would never meet our expectations if he like said something serious or he was like, you know, this is my father's
This is what I've been waiting for.
Right? To just like completely just change the tone of it. It's
like I just don't even care about this anymore.
That's what we call brilliant storytelling.
Yes.
And the jokes were hilarious. The Poe Dameron scene where he's trying to talk to Hux in the beginning.
Oh, yes. Oh, come on.
He's just insulting him, and it's just so like you have these very tense moments. So in the beginning, when they're doing this assault on one of the dreadnoughts, and Hux phones in to talk to Hux, and he's just insulting him the whole time. I'll wait. Hux with the H. It's so funny.
It's good.
It's so funny. Excellent jokes. Some of them are a little weird, like the whale titty drink.
That was very uncomfortable for me. It squirmed in my seat a little.
His face,
the look that he gives, it's so good.
He's pretty much like, do you see what I've become? Fuck you. I'm not training you. Fuck off. It was so awkward, but so funny.
So good.
But yeah, there's excellent humor. That little creature that's shoving all the coin, the drunk creature that's shoving all the coins in a BB-8.
Yeah, the little like leprechaun looking guy.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, there's some interesting characters.
There's a lot of. I think the humor was perfectly timed.
Mm-hmm.
It helped because this film was. I mean, they definitely went the Empire route where it was darker,
very much,
a little more serious in tone, dealing with some complex issues in the storyline and Star Wars canon in general. To be able to put those jokes in was I thought well timed.
Yep.
And not all of them landed. I know there was a few where I was like, meh. I can't remember specifically what they are.
I like the one where Leia comments about her hair when Luke sees her at the end there.
Change is good. But yeah, not 100%. I mean, this isn't the perfect film, but it's definitely not half a fucking star.
Or just straight up
nothing.
Not interested. Nothing. No stars, you get nothing.
Here's a good one. 2 stars. I'm a big time fan of Star Wars, and I'm 46 years old. I've watched Star Wars at the theater since 1977. This movie was a letdown. It was not what I expected, which is probably the most important part of this review. Killing Luke Skywalker was a huge mistake. Seriously, they kill Obi-Wan. Nothing. Yoda, whatever. Everyone from the prequels.
Everyone is dead.
Everyone dies.
But Luke and, oh my God, no.
I mean, I get, the nostalgia there, like Luke Skywalker is eternal or whatever, but...
I mean, he still can't be.
The mentor-mentee always hinged on the mentor moving on.
Mentee?
And Yoda... Yeah, the mentee.
Mentee, is that a word?
Yeah.
That's the thing?
Mentor and mentee, yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
I mean, if it's not, it should be. It sounds really nice. But... and Yoda specifically says that that's the job of the master, is to essentially let the Padawan go beyond the master. And so Luke had to die. Was he just going to retire? Like, go on, Rey. I'm good.
He's been retired, if you want to put it like that. What's he going to do? Just stay on that island forever?
Just not do anything? Drinking blue milk?
Alien titty milk? I mean...
Are they implying that that's where the blue milk comes from? Probably. It wasn't quite blue. It was kind of greenish. It's like some weird nod. Like, these creatures are where that blue milk comes from. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It's transported internationally from the secret island. But no, of course he had to die. There's no other way for him to be in this story.
Every other master before him dies.
To me, it doesn't make any sense for him to be alive, because then Rey wouldn't have to do anything. You have the most powerful Force user in the galaxy, essentially, and he's just like, nah, I'm not gonna get involved. I wash my hands of this mess. Go on, Rey. Go get killed. I don't care. No, of course he had to die. So fuck you guys. Mark M, you dick. Here's a half star. I went in with high hopes. I was a huge fan of Rian Johnson's Looper and enjoyed The Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi trailers looked amazing. The film didn't get off to a good start with a your mom joke right out of the gate, which was hilarious. That's a Poe Dameron thing we were talking about. Followed by some incredibly unrealistic space combat.
Are you kidding me? That was some of the most intense space fighting that I've seen in Star Wars.
When he fucking chokes back and turns
drifting
180
in space, basically.
It's so dope. And really, what's realistic? You have some examples of some realistic space combat we can have a look at.
Right. What does real space combat look like?
I'm surprised he didn't say something like, I'm a PhD in physics and blah blah blah, this and that.
Well, then you should be impressed.
Lightsabers, man. Is that realistic enough?
Right.
Get the fuck out of here.
Aliens.
Apparently you can drop bombs in space. I mean, it does bring up an interesting point, but it kind of looked like there was little jetpacks on them. Right.
Well, and you figure each ship has its own force of gravity. If you're close enough to it, I mean, who's to say?
I don't know. But really, TIE bombers and Empire Strikes Back were more efficient. The film continued with realism-breaking stunts. Shut the fuck up. Realism-breaking stunts. With all that realism.
Because movies have to be real.
Oh, God. Where was I? Realism-breaking stunts. Poor dialogue and painfully poor humor. Then it got worse. The plotting was terrible. The writing choices by Johnson hurt. I was offended when I left the theater. I won't spoil anything, but the big twist is that there is no twist, which is wrong.
There's 95 twists.
Hopefully they retcon this entire piece of garbage, but don't take my word for it. Go watch it yourself. So there are plenty of twists. Now, I'm assuming this gentleman, Mr. Justin K, with no picture, who gave this half a star. He gave a half a star today. Anyway, he's probably upset that there is no twist like in Empire. Like that obvious M. Night Shyamalan fucking shock.
Yeah.
The twist is that you don't have to adhere to that mentality. Rey's parentage being nobody's, it's a huge fucking twist. Because it's almost, you can shrug it off. Oh, okay. Her parents are no one. Killing Snoke, it's what the fuck? But at the same time, it's kind of
for most people.
It's kind of okay, well, we can move on from that. The twists aren't earth-shattering twists that change the whole galaxy. They're twists in a way that allow us to move forward in the story. They're could have been considered just plot points. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, everyone expected Rey to be someone. And she's no one.
It's like they just want the movies to keep repeating themselves forever.
But they don't want the movies to repeat themselves.
Right, but they don't. But if we try to change it so that they don't, they get all mad because it's not.
Yeah, it's... And there's just review after review of...
The Force is not worth it.
The Force is not worth it.
Nice review.
Ian. The worst. Destroys everything you loved and learned from the original trilogy in the name of trying to be different. What? The movie doesn't have a coherent story. Shut the fuck up. It's a good movie, better than Force Awakens, but still is just that. It's too many mistakes. They wasted Luke. I can't believe that this is the worst of all the Star Wars movies ever made.
Wait. What is this? Is this Edwin?
Edwin. Yeah, the action, the special effects, and a lot of the acting are all outstanding, but what makes a movie great is its story. Unfortunately, I don't have as much free time as a lot of reviewers here to specify everything. I'm sure many of the posters here had already touched on these, but I'm really sad that Rian Johnson just ruined the most beloved movie franchise in history. Get the fuck out of here. You're hearing this from me first, and he posted this today. Episode 9's opening weekend will only get half of what this movie made. Okay. The trust has been broken. Longtime fans will be approaching this movie just as they did Justice League, extremely cautiously. I personally lost all eagerness to see the next episode, hence won't be lining up on opening day.
Good. More seats for us.
Yeah. The idea that original fans can't like this movie because it's so different is a very problem with the way people are approaching this movie. It was too similar in The Force Awakens, and it's too different now.
Can't make everyone happy.
You can't make everyone happy, but at the same time, what did you fucking expect? I mean, what did you expect? I will never understand that mentality, only because it doesn't make any sense. People, I don't get it. But regardless, let's kind of go into some of the ways that it changes what we thought of Star Wars. That way we can better appreciate why this movie is excellent. Yeah?
Fair.
Going into the film, I half expected a remake of Empire, only because of The Force Awakens. But the other half of me was ready for a radical change. And I think that part of me was definitely more open to the movie. And when all of these big changes in the Star Wars universe occurred, it didn't break my heart. I think that was kind of what a lot of people went in thinking and weren't able to overcome. They're like, I'm ready for Empire Part 2. Mm-hmm. And when it wasn't that, and it went in a completely radical different direction, they were just like, well, Star Wars is done. I'm done. After 40 years, this one movie
ruins it.
And I mean, we made jokes that if she was a Skywalker, it would have ruined it. But I mean, even if that occurred, I would be angry at that point. But if it was in this movie, I could see the rest as an okay.
Yeah.
And be able, but regardless, the fans could very well ruin Star Wars. Not Star Wars.
I could see that happening.
But regardless, some points that make this movie excellent are really points about the direction that it's going in the future of Star Wars. So this is probably my second favorite Star Wars film. It's hard to say. I judge on a bunch of different like dynamics, you know, because I guess I'd say top. It'd be in rotation of top 3, you know.
Okay. That I can accept.
Yeah. Like there's points that would put it above other movies. Other points that bring it below other movies. So pretty much like Empire, Revenge of the Sith, and this movie.
Yeah.
But cinematically, I think I really love The Force Awakens too, because that can put just the new movies into it because they're just so beautifully shot.
Right. Rogue One.
Yeah, see, that's another one that's like in rotation there. Anyway, regardless, what made this movie great is not only the risks that it takes in telling a Star Wars story, but in the ability that it gives Disney to move past the Skywalker story and to give us unique and interesting Star Wars films in the future. Because, like Marvel, it's very easy for all of this to become just the same again and again and again.
We talk about the circle in every podcast. You don't want it to keep going around.
No.
In the beginning, sure, people might love it because it's nostalgic and it's fun, and eventually they're just going to get bored with it, and then they're going to start to see that it's going in a circle. Mm-hmm. And the franchise would die. You have to make extreme and radical changes in order to save the future of Star Wars.
And they've gotten to a point where it's very difficult for them to do that with Marvel. We might see some changes now that Disney's acquired Fox movie rights, television rights, etc. Just because they can bring in new characters.
Fantastic Four for once. Right?
But it'll just be another Iron Man remake. You seen Doctor Strange?
Yeah. Okay.
But regardless, you're. I think Disney realizes that they've done that with Marvel. That they kind of. It's very difficult for them to create an excellent Marvel movie now. Spider-Man was a pretty good movie, but even that had so many elements of the old originals.
Right.
But they knew that they had to start taking this in a completely different direction. And it seems just with like Ron Howard becoming director of Han Solo movie, the firing of that other dude and J.J. Abrams coming back in, that they're pretty serious about creating something that's long-lasting.
Yeah.
And you can't have a long-lasting franchise that sticks to a same formula. So everything that makes this movie different, it may not have been perfect in execution. And it could be argued that a lot of it was damn near perfect. But if we are a little more conservative about it, we can say that everything wasn't perfect. It still was perfectly done for the future of Star Wars.
It was necessary.
It was so necessary. What is it? It's not the Star Wars movie we wanted. It's the Star Wars movie we needed.
Exactly.
Because Rogue One completely went off fucking script,
and people loved it.
And it was excellent. And why view this any different? Just because it's a saga film, like it has to stick to
follow
the same
a
thing?
certain formula? No.
The idea that they had to stick with anything, with anyone's expectations, fan or otherwise, is ridiculous.
Right.
It was the fact that they're like, you know what? We love the fans, but this is what has to be done. And fuck you, Rian Johnson's a huge Star Wars fan. He knew, he knew
exactly what he was doing.
He wasn't trying to diminish the franchise. And to say that he did is just obscene, almost. It's an insult. It's intellectually dishonest about what Star Wars is and what we should be expecting from Star Wars, especially if we're going to fucking get a new trilogy in another part of the galaxy. You're like, oh, well, if they would have just continued with the same Skywalker story and then went off in a different direction, we totally would have accepted that. Fuck you. Yeah, you wouldn't have. There would have been, the transition would have been so harsh that you would have been doing the same thing. Oh, episode fucking 11 or 10 or whatever one, they probably won't even call it an episode, but
maybe episode 1.
Right? Who knows?
Of a new trilogy.
I wonder what they're going to do with the names of those things. It's an interesting idea.
It's not a continuation. It's something separate. So would they just chronologically start over?
Maybe. Or maybe they would just kind of do what they're doing with the anthology films and just call it a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
I kind of want them to get rid of a Star Wars story part of it. It sounds weird.
Go back to the episodes.
Episode 1. Yeah.
Whatever.
Would Rogue One be episode 3.5?
Well, I mean, I don't mind the anthology films. I mean, they can just be a name, but
we'll see. Anyway, you can't expect them to create this new trilogy and not give us some kind of transition. Right. And this is the perfect film to do it. And I like the dynamic they're setting up. And that's another thing, too. Going into Episode 9 with this whole new dynamic. So you have Rey, who has come to accept who she is. You have Kylo, who has come to accept who he is. Really,
neither of them accepting who each other is.
Well, they kind of accept who each other is, if you think about it. Because while Rey expected to be able to turn Kylo, when he, after the fight with the guards, after he kills Snoke, and he's pretty much not quite begging, but begging her to come join him. She realizes at that point that there is no saving him. He is what he is. And because they're still kind of connected in the Force, her acceptance of him as he is, and vice versa, will allow their interactions in episode 9 to be a little more genuine, because they're not going to be trying to convince each other. He knows she's not going to go dark side. She knows he's not going to go light side.
But is he convinced? I don't feel like he's convinced.
That she won't go dark side?
Mm-hmm. I think that he still thinks that he can pull her.
I don't think so. I think only because I feel like the dynamic is going to be like this feud of dark versus light to try and bring balance, because they both want the corruption, as they view it, of the other to be diminished from the galaxy, right? So this story of balance works best, I think, if he knows that she won't succumb.
He knows, but is he gonna stop fighting?
Not fighting, but I think he's not gonna try to turn her. He's probably just gonna try to kill her.
You think?
I think.
I don't know. She's too powerful. He knows he could use her. I don't think he's gonna try to kill her. I think he's still might try to use her or convince her to join him.
But I don't know, man. I feel like he's kind of resentful of her power, you know.
Yeah,
and that was part
he would
of
kill her for that, though. I think he would want to use that.
Maybe, but I think he knows he can't control her. I don't know, because in my head, his whole thing about her parents being like dead in like a ditch was kind of his way of trying to bring her down to control her. And when she didn't succumb to it, he knows that he doesn't really have that hold on her. I don't know. I mean, it's very well that he may, but I really doubt it. I feel like
he's just like an angry toddler. When is he really gonna stop? He wants it, and he wants it now.
It's true, but I think that I don't think he's gonna try to turn her. I think he doesn't. He realizes he can't, and his best bet is to kill her or incapacitate her in some way. You know, because the whole theory about some kind of force pull of getting their energy and shit out. And by the way, that thing we thought was a machine for holding force was a fucking like telescope. It's just so funny to me. Nothing about our theories on Snoke have been proven right.
None of our theories on anything.
Although, to be fair, nothing about Snoke has been revealed at all, except for a few tidbits of information, like the ring,
thing,
the ring.
That's cool.
Some stuff in the visual encyclopedia that is pretty dope, but it doesn't really contribute to the story. But then also proves a bunch of fucking theories that we had wrong as well. So his ring is not a kyber crystal; it's a piece of obsidian from a cave underneath Vader's castle on Mustafar, and
which is still cool.
The band is like some statues from Chancellor Palpatine's office, and it's got some names carved as some ancient Sith in it. It's pretty much just a badass set piece.
Yeah.
That we don't get any information on in the fucking story.
We might in the next one, though, and with the whole Knights of Ren and the artifacts and things that.
And the fucking Knights of Ren. The Knights of Ren are fucking Luke Skywalker students.
Yeah, and we see nothing of them.
Yeah, they just let it go. But that goes back to what makes this movie so good. And why it's good for the franchise is because they're like, oh yeah, your theory about Knights of Ren, wrong.
Yeah, everything's wrong.
Why, what happened when Kylo brought down the school? Wrong.
How the school was brought down?
Wrong. I think the only thing they haven't necessarily proven wrong about anything we've said in any previous podcast or any conversation we've had is who Snoke is. Because they don't reveal anything.
Not confirmed, so we still just don't know.
So no one's quite wrong yet. Who Rey is wrong. Although I think I did see one video once somewhere that Rey's parents were nobodies.
We're a nobody.
I think it was mentioned like passing
here and there. Yeah.
Because who would accept that she's from nothing?
I mean, with how they're going with the Force and how people use it and who can be affected and all that, I like this direction. So her parents being a nobody does play a really good role in that, and I would totally be okay if they just left it that way.
Yeah, there's so much being said in this movie. And the ending really kind of exemplifies the whole point of the things that they did. There's a scene on Canto Bight where a slave boy, he is telling the legends of Luke Skywalker to his friends. Master or whatever they are comes in, threatens to whip him, goes out to sleep, force pulls a broom to him, looks up at the fucking stars, holds that shit like a lightsaber. And that right there pretty much sums up where they're going. You don't have to be from this very thin margin of people to be important in the galaxy. And Rey being from nothing. Although I think that we're going to see a change in that, only because, at least a little bit. I don't think she's going to be a Palpatine. I want her to be a Palpatine.
I really want her to be a Palpatine.
Because I want to see more Palpatine material.
Right.
But I don't think the whole they're drunk poppers and they traded you for drink money thing that they I don't think, well, Kylo believes that's the truth, and Rian Johnson confirms that that's the truth he believes is the reality. I think we're going to see that that's not quite correct, that they didn't just abandon her for drinking money, because that ship they leave on is pretty nice. But her being from a family of significance, I think that's going to stay the same. And I like that. I accept this.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
And yeah, that's totally okay. But overall, I think that the direction and the choices made contribute to the future of Star Wars. And those who say otherwise, I think, are scared of change, but I think they're scared, more importantly, of not being in the know. It's almost like a vanity thing, you know. Sometimes, and I will admit, there's points, and I'm not the most educated Star Wars fan, you know, but I feel like I have more information than a lot of people. And sometimes talking to people like at work or something, you know, and they say something and I'm like, haha, you're wrong, you idiot. You know, you feel a little bit sense of entitlement to it because you put time in and, you know, you study a little bit. It's almost like a
lot bit.
Yeah. You work on timelines of the galaxy so that way people can enjoy it, which will be on our website soon. You have this sense of pride about your knowledge, and this movie is pretty much like, fuck you.
It destroys everything you know.
What you think doesn't matter anymore, you know. And
yeah, I know.
And I think that's kind of sad, you know. I'm like, fuck, man.
Where do I go 2 years working on this, right? And it's just spit on it.
Timelines and connecting the dots. It's pretty much like a room, like in those crime thrillers with string
with the shit
and
everywhere, and
a giant map with pins and and they're just like, nah,
no, that's all wrong. Take it down, burn it.
It kind of hurts a little bit, but
not enough for me to shit all over the movie.
Well, no, and I want the franchise to continue because I love it so much, and I want it to be different. I want to go into a Star Wars movie and not be able to anticipate things. And that's another thing too. This goes back to the whole spoiler thing. Those who went into this movie with insider knowledge, where's the fun? How if anyone does that who watches this podcast, which I doubt, but let's assume there are, just for a moment, take some time in the comments and explain to me why one would do that to themselves, to go into a movie with a 2-year time span between its predecessor and be able to expect and anticipate everything. Like, why even go see the fucking film?
Yeah, that would be such a boring movie. I mean, what a waste of time.
So bad. Although, it is funny, too, another theory I was wrong on, the whole mom thing, to take that out of the equation. That was pretty dope. And
somebody in that movie has a fucking mommy issue, though. It's Star Wars. It's in there.
We kind of saw it in the beginning with Kylo and Leia. And I was right that Kylo didn't kill her in that scene. The other First Order people did. Well, they didn't kill her. But I thought in that moment they killed her. And there's another moment where I'm sitting there with nothing in me, trying to comprehend what I see when Leia gets sucked out of space.
Sucked all the air out of my body.
And everyone's just breathe. You're seeing popcorn.
I was on the edge of my seat. I was practically in tears. I didn't know what was going to happen. This was the worst fucking moment of my life.
It's like the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Yes, it was terrible. Why do this so early in the movie? And
yeah,
and there was silence.
That moment where she gets pulled out But then we get to see her use like some pretty strong Force abilities. Yes. Like, fuck yeah, dude. To put that into canon. And oh, I loved it. I mean, we always knew she was Force.
She survived the vacuum of space, too. It didn't do anything to her.
I think it's important, that they kind of gave us that. Because, I mean, of course, it's always been canon that she has Force abilities, but we never get to see it. We see like a little bit of connection.
Her little mental connection with Luke and stuff.
But to be able to actually see her use some powers, I was like... but yeah, there's a tremendous amount of information in this film that not just twists and turns or character development or the future of the franchise or what's good, what's bad. The overall dynamic is just so complex that this podcast is going to be in multiple parts.
Yeah, this is not the end.
And the way we want to set this up is today is just kind of overall. Just kind of get some of this out of me. I've been waiting a whole week to I haven't watched any reviews. The reviews we read today are the first reviews I've read. Only because
on Instagram.
Yeah, only because I'm still trying to wrap my head around what this means for the future of the franchise and what this means for me as a fan. But next week we'll be coming back with a little more insight, and we'll probably be discussing parts of the movie specifically.
Yeah, structure it out a little bit better.
So, of course, be sure to subscribe down below. Follow us on social media.
Leave comments, things you want to talk about.
What surprised you the most? Let's do that. Where was the Palpatine this week? Ooh. Comment down below. And be sure to hit that little reminder button that's there. We're not very good at the YouTube yet. There's a little reminder button. Click it.
The notification thing.
But as always, we appreciate you coming by, letting us talk a little bit about Star Wars, and, let us know what you think. We want to make it better. This part's all we're going to be dubbed over with music anyway. You probably won't hear it very much, but if you do, we love you. Thank you so much. We will see you next week.